The Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 377 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. Although both of Celestial Venerable Yu's legs were completely disabled, she was still, nevertheless, the oldest Celestial Venerable. Even if she did live in seclusion for many years, she was still not to be looked down upon. The space around the Jade Pool was almost completely shattered by these horrifying beings. Only the island where the slow winding pavilion sat was considered a safe shelter. Looking out from the island, space was shattered into countless fragments, creating a terrifying space storm that rotated frantically. Those terrifying beings sat motionless inside the turbulence of shattered space. The scene was truly terrifying, which made Qin Mu and the others feel that the outside world had already been annihilated, and that their island was all that was left. If a battle between the Celestial Venerables breaks out, it's likely that the celestial heavens will be completely annihilated. Qin Mu kicked the still sleeping dragon Qilin and said, "Unfortunately, no battles will be fought." The dragon Qilin woke up and looked around him before asking, "It's still not over, Cult Master?" Qin Mu nodded, and the dragon Qilin went back to sleep while lying on the ground. Yun Jianli laughed. "This guy is blessed to be able to sleep in such a situation." The dragon Qilin opened his sleepy eyes, and in a muffled voice, said, "If the sky falls, Cult Master will help to hold it up. If he dies, so will I, so why not go to sleep?" The masses laughed involuntarily. However, the dragon Qilin's words made sense upon greater analysis. The situation at hand was definitely out of their control. Even if they destroyed the culprit who fractured the celestial heavens, Qin Mu, the situation would remain unchanged. They couldn't alter the course that the situation was heading into regardless of how much they cared, so it was pointless to worry about it. In contrast, the dragon Qilin's ability to fall asleep at such a critical moment of life and death was in itself impressive. 10 beings at the Celestial Venerable level have arrived, 6 of which belong to the Celestial Heavens. Yun Jianli analyzed the situation. This means that there are still 4 Celestial Venerables left in the Celestial Heavens, and they still have an overwhelming advantage. Celestial Venerable Mu, the situation hasn't really turned in our favor. If a couple more Celestial Venerables appear, do you still have reinforcements? Will Celestial Venerable Qin appear? Qin Mu smiled. Founding Emperor is still keeping watch at Carefree Village. He hasn't appeared in the past, and he won't appear now. Besides, who is to say that the remaining 4 Celestial Venerables won't help me? Yun Chuxiu, who was standing nearby, looked slightly stunned as she turned her gaze towards him, seemingly in deep thought. Amongst the 10 Celestial Venerables of the Celestial Heavens, Wu, Hua, Xiao, Zhu, Lang, Qiong, Yang, Hong, Shu, and Gong, only Ancestral God King had revealed his identity. The others hadn't done so in order to avoid becoming a political enemy after killing Celestial Venerable Mu. And also, Celestial Empress, who was on Qin Mu's side, was secretly among them. Celestial Empress was forced to help Qin Mu, because the body of Mistress Yuan Mu was in Qin Mu's hands, and she feared the resurrection of her sister. Qin Mu confidently swore that someone else would help him. Among the 10 Celestial Venerables, who would that be? The 10 Celestial Venerable were never one complete unit. In the past, everyone kept causing trouble and arguing with one another. Not long ago, Celestial Venerable Hao went to the lower bounds with the most powerful divine weapon, but was forced back to the Celestial Heavens. Was that move to prevent the primordial realm from falling into the hands of others? Another Celestial Venerable approached them. The island where the slow winding pavilion sat could no longer take it, and the edges of it began to crumble. The rocks of the island were constantly being shattered into powder. The palace maids on the island screamed as they backed off, rushing towards the slow winding pavilion to prevent themselves from being annihilated by the terrifying aura of the Celestial Venerables. Although the slow-winding pavilion that Qin Mu was in was by the sea, it was secretly protected by Heaven Duke, Earth Count, Celestial Empress, and others, so they wouldn't be affected for at least an hour and a half. However, the arrival of this celestial venerable once again tilted the scales. The island they were on couldn't hold out for much longer, and it, along with them, would soon be ground into dust, their souls being dispersed. At this moment, another celestial venerable arrived at the Jade Sea. His arrival rebalanced the situation, and prevented the shattering of the island. Amongst the 10 celestial venerables, how dare people still stand on the opposing side of the celestial heavens? A celestial venerable masked in dense light laughed and said, "It's in vain that we call each other Tao friends, as unexpectedly, some people here are hiding things from others. Nevertheless, you lot are the minority." At this moment, another celestial venerable arrived and tilted the scales once more, causing the island to continue collapsing. Yet, as this celestial venerable stopped, another celestial venerable approached, and balance was restored. The island's collapse was thus stopped. The 10 celestial venerables of the celestial heavens had all arrived one after another. Adding Heaven Duke, Earth Count, Celestial Venerable Yu, and Celestial Venerable Yu, there were 14 extremely strong practitioners present. Yun Jinli was extremely grateful as he remarked, "What a rare scene to witness, something that has never been seen before, the combined presence of 14 beings who have attained the level of Celestial Venerable. If they were to fight, it would be an unprecedented and magnificent sight to behold." Magnificent Maya ***. Chi Jiui was angry and furiously said, with saliva spraying everywhere, "Now should be the time where we go around and beg them not to fight. If they do, we'll definitely die." Second brother, you're ***, you're still sleeping. Now, the question should be on how to clean up the mess. Qin Mu suddenly said, "Well, maybe only Celestial Emperor, who rules the entire celestial heavens, can stop this conflict. Maybe the imperial decree from Celestial Emperor will arrive here shortly." The masses shivered. After all, Celestial Emperor was the lord of the celestial heavens. All of the gods, regardless of whether they were ancient gods or celestial venerables, were his subjects. Celestial Emperor had stopped dealing with politics, allowing the 10 celestial venerables to manage the imperial court. In addition, Earth Count, Heaven Duke, and others rarely listened to the orders of Celestial Emperor. Nevertheless, he was still, in the name of the celestial heavens, the common lord of everyone. If he were to show up, he could definitely stop this conflict. Nevertheless, Qin Mu and Celestial Empress both knew that the common lord, the ancient Celestial Emperor, who was the ruler of the celestial heavens in name, had died a long time ago, during the Dragon Han era. The reason that the celestial heavens still kept him as the ruler in name was because of the conflict of interest between the 10 celestial venerables. If there were no ancient celestial emperor, who amongst them should take his place? They had to maintain the identity of the ancient celestial emperor, and weaken the power of the ancient gods, whilst trying to strengthen their own. It was only when one's power and authority overrode that of the other 9 celestial venerables, that they could destroy the ancient celestial emperor, and claim the throne for themselves. If they couldn't do that, none of them would actively expose the fact that the ancient celestial emperor had already died, and would continue to recognize the ancient celestial emperor as their common lord. As for Yun Jianli, he didn't know that the ancient celestial emperor had died, as the Yun family didn't pass on that fact. Due to how big the relation between the Yun family and the ancient celestial emperor was, if they were to pass on that fact, the Yun family would have been eliminated. It wouldn't have become a large and influential family of the celestial heavens. Sometimes, ignorance was required for one to survive. This became one of the unwritten rules of the celestial heavens. Suddenly, a voice came to break the stalemate at the Jade Sea. An imperial decree has arrived. Celestial Venerable Mu has contributed greatly. coming up from the lower bounds without any grievances over the hard work he has done. To reward Celestial Venerable Mu, I gift upon him fine wine and beautiful ladies. Yun Chuxiu glanced at Qin Mu, and Qin Mu revealed a smile. Yun Chuxiu snorted. On the jade pool, a Celestial Venerable also snorted as he retreated into the darkness without a trail. The 1,000-mile peach forest also vanished at an astonishing rate. Ultimately, the peach forest disappeared with the palace within it, leaving behind a single peach flower floating in the sky that disappeared after rotating. The other Celestial Venerables followed. Heaven Duke became a beam of light that rose into the sky, while Earth Count sunk into the darkness. At the same time, Celestial Venerable Yu's paper boat went into Yudu. Soon, the place became empty, and all that was left was the broken Jade Sea. The space that was rippling couldn't settle down within the moment. Countless divine soldiers and divine generals lined up, escorting a god official who opened a shattered space whirlpool, taking a lot of effort to descend upon the island. He held an imperial edict in his hands and proclaimed, "Celestial Venerable Mu shall receive the decree." Behind him were palace maids of great beauty, and in their hands were various precious artifacts, fine wine, and all sorts of peculiar treasures gifted to Qin Mu by Celestial Emperor. Qin Mu bowed and submissively said, "This subject shall receive the decree." That god official placed it into his hands and swiftly told him, "Please rise, Celestial Venerable. You are a Celestial Venerable, and should act like one. No one can accept your respects. People, please tidy up the residence of the Celestial Venerable." The countless divine soldiers and divine generals retrieved their precious artifacts, and took all of the shattered space fragments, before fusing them together to repair the jade pool. The rest of them took out an artifact of creation to create land and the island. They went about their ways, busy yet silent. The rest of them found many bodies from the shattered jade pool, and ordered people to load them onto ships to be shipped off and buried. It wasn't the first time that the celestial heavens had experienced something like this. They were prepared, so when they executed their plan, it was in an orderly manner. In the sky, there were heavenly ladies that danced and performed gracefully. The sounds of the drum were pleasing, and their dance was enthralling. It was a sight of prosperous peacefulness. That god official was refined and courteous to Qin Mu as he said, "It has been a long time since Celestial Venerable Mu returned to the celestial heavens. Are you used to it?" Celestial Emperor was worried that you wouldn't be able to get used to the surroundings, so he sent these ladies to be enjoyed by you. If Celestial Venerable still has other requirements, please tell me. Although I can't play host, I can inform Celestial Emperor, and he will be fast in granting your request. Qin Mu observed the palace maids and joked, saying, "There are already enough palace maids in the jade pool, so why bother with more maids?" That god official seemed to not understand him as he asked, "Palace maids at the jade pool? Since when were there palace maids at the jade pool?" "It's because there's nobody serving you in the jade pool that Celestial Emperor sent me to bring people to serve you." Qin Mu was stunned as cries of agony filled his ears. He quickly turned around. The divine soldiers and divine generals that followed the god official were capturing the jade pool's palace maids. After handcuffing them, they beheaded them, obliterated their primordial spirits, and dispersed their souls. The divine soldiers and divine generals were swift, massacring the palace maids, before dragging the many bodies onto a boat and ordering them to be shipped off. There were still divine ladies dancing in the sky, and divine music melodiously surrounded them. They sang and danced as if they couldn't see the river of blood beneath them. Cold air flooded out of Qin Mu's heart, as he turned to look at the god official. That official was full of smiles as he informed him, they heard what shouldn't have been heard, saw what shouldn't have been seen. Therefore, they had to be eliminated. Please don't make my job difficult. These are the customs. Qin Mu stayed silent. The thing that was frightening wasn't what the god official said, it was the fact that these were the customs. He looked at Qi Jui and Yun Jianli, who remained motionless. Clearly, they were used to such things in the celestial heavens, which was the most frightening thing. The reform shouldn't only reform the paths, skills, and divine arts, it should also change this disgusting way of thinking. If we only reform paths, skills, and divine arts and not this way of thinking, even if we do overthrow the corrupt celestial heavens, all we'll be doing is building a more corrupt one. His heart was filled with sorrow. During the High Emperor era, the philosophy at hand was that human lives were greater than heaven. During the Founding Emperor era, the philosophy promoted was that humans were important and that gods should serve humans. Eternal Peace's philosophy became that of the path of the saint, destruction of the god within one's heart, which was used by the everyday people. During all of these eras, generation after generation fought and sacrificed with their blood. Yet, such philosophies were never spread to the celestial heavens. Reform, if only applied to the paths, skills, and divine arts, wouldn't be a proper one. What are you thinking? That god official asked. I am thinking. Beneath the calm appearance shown on Qin Mu's face, there was magma gushing up, as if he were a volcano that was about to erupt. He said, I will one day smash this corrupt world. That god official was stunned as he said, well thought out, celestial venerable. However, the trend is already set in motion, and it can't be stopped by anyone. Faster! He hollered at the divine soldiers and divine generals, clean this place up. Don't disrupt the celestial venerable's rest. Soon, the darkness that shrouded the jade pool dissipated. The jade pool was restored, and it resembled a sea. As vast as it was, the divine turtles who carried the divine mountains and islands all died during the battle that night. At this moment, from who knows where, another batch of divine turtles appeared, along with some divine mountains and islands, allowing them to bear these mountains and islands in the Jade Sea while roaming. Some of the divine ladies planted some giant lotuses, and they bloomed. Many little ladies who were flower spirits lived in these flowers. They sat beside the sea and rinsed themselves, singing and playing their instruments. It was a sight of utmost beauty. That god official bowed to Qin Mu. Celestial Venerable, this place is essentially back to normal. Are you satisfied? New palace maids replaced the old one in the jade pool. The new ones were even more attentive, and even better, at serving people than Younger. Their faces were decked with smiles, and their postures were delicate and elegant. They were diligent and fast, able to fulfill any requests. Qin Mu knew that these palace maids were so cautious because, after seeing the death of the previous maids, they worried about their own lives. Although he wanted to, he was too powerless to reform the celestial heavens now. After those shocking unforeseen circumstances the day before, the celestial heavens returned to being just as peaceful and harmonious as usual. Although the incident caused a great ruckus, no one in the celestial heavens talked about it, acting as if nothing had happened. The ruckus caused by the Jade Pool incident was too large to be completely covered up. The reason people didn't talk about it was that they didn't dare to. Nevertheless, people with keen eyes in the celestial heavens could see the situation. Although the celestial heavens seemed unbreakable, the incident at the Jade Pool showed that the celestial heavens had been in a dilapidated state for some time. At any moment, the celestial heavens could fracture. The arrival of Celestial Venerable Mu only accelerated said process, and sharpened the originally hidden conflicts, to the point that moderation became impossible. Most people's focus was still on the Jade Pool incident. This was the first big event caused by Celestial Venerable Mu's arrival, and it had already split the celestial heavens. The incident at the Jade Pool was the first eruption of the dark undercurrents in the celestial heavens. There would be a second and a third time after the first, and the conflicts would grow to be sharper and sharper until things got out of hand. The Jade Pool quieted down until 2 days later, when the great-great-grandmother of the Yun family led the widows of the Yun family to the Jade Pool, claiming to be there to visit Yun Jinli. This great ancestor of Yun Jinli's was the wife of Celestial Venerable Yun, and the Celestial Empress of the Heaven Han Celestial Heavens, during the Dragon Han era. After the defeat of the Heaven Han Celestial Heavens, people either died, fell, or escaped. From Celestial Venerable Yun's bloodline, only she escaped whilst being pregnant with a son. Due to the status of Celestial Venerable Yun, the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens didn't trouble her, and Celestial Emperor received them into the Celestial Heavens. He built the Yun residence and made her mistress Yun Xiao. Then, the bloodline curse of the Yun family emerged, and the males of the family died after growing up, generation after generation. This left a lot of widows behind in the family. Although many widows remarried, many stayed. Thus, there were many tough ladies in the Yun family, who were especially protective of the males of the Yun family. The scribe of the Celestial Heavens came along with Mistress Yun Xiao and the others to record down the meeting. Celestial Venerable Mu personally received Mistress Yun Xiao, and both of them held an intimate meeting in the slow winding pavilion to engage in friendly discussion. They exchanged their opinions on the peace and prosperity the Celestial Heavens was experiencing today. In actuality, Mistress Yun Xiao was ferocious, and was the first to interrogate Qin Mu. She wanted to imprison Yun Jinli at the Yun residence, before complaining about how Celestial Venerable Mu put Yun Jinli in danger. Even Yun Jinli's wife struck out against Qin Mu in the hopes of beating up the Celestial Venerable as a warning. This was the scribe's idea of a friendly exchange. The scribe, who had a headache induced by the bickering of these ladies, didn't record much down, especially after Qi Jiui invited him for some drinks. It was only when these tough ladies heard that Qin Mu had eradicated the bloodline curse of the Yun family that their anger turned to happiness, and they soon apologized to Qin Mu. As for the idea that both sides exchanged opinions on the Celestial Heavens' prosperity, in reality, it was more of Qin Mu hearing from Mistress Yun Xiao about the various factions within the Celestial Heavens. The widows of the Yun family were gossipers, who leaked everything about every palace and hall of the Celestial Heavens. The scribe of the Celestial Heavens was intoxicated due to Qi Jiui and the Dragon Chaline's drinks, and thus resorted to recording the incident with sublime words of deep meaning. Mistress Yun Xiao once again led the women of the Yun family back to the Yun residence, after hugging Yun Jinli along. The Yun family was happy after Qin Mu eradicated the young lad's bloodline curse. This time, the Master of Creation hiding in the Celestial Heavens didn't appear. Celestial Venerable Mu, my husband actually wanted to see you again. Mistress Yun Xiao actually still looked young. She merely pretended to be old by wearing a gold crown, with a phoenix's tail, clutching a dragon head staff, and dyeing her hair white. Trying to seem old, she glanced at the Yun family's widows, and they immediately surrounded and trapped the scribe. The scribe wanted to move forward and listen in on Mistress Yun Xiao and Qin Mu's conversation, but he was trapped by the Yun family's widows and became secretly anxious as a result. They talked while walking as Mistress Yun Xiao explained, "My husband waited for Celestial Venerable Mu, you, to show up again for his entire life. He often talked about establishing rules for the Heaven Alliance, that one couldn't be too nice to bad people, or too bad to good people, and that one must treat good people even better, and bad people even worse. Yet, he couldn't put it into action because, before he died, he realized that the Heaven Alliance had begun to treat bad people too nice, and good people too bad." Qin Mu looked down at the road before looking back up and remarking, "Although it's easy to say such a thing, it's hard to carry it out. People are always too critical of good people, and too tolerant of bad people. He left behind an item that he wanted me to give to you." Mistress Yun Xiao continued, "I was pregnant when I painstakingly escaped the Heaven Han Celestial Heavens. I had a hard time protecting myself, and even if I lived, I couldn't protect that item. Thus, I entrusted it to Dao Ancestor, who was an exceptionally good friend of my husband, which made depositing the item with him the safest option. Dao Ancestor. Qin Mu stopped and asked, Madam entrusted the item to Dao Ancestor. What was it that Celestial Venerable Yun left behind? Mistress Yun Xiao replied, it was a case, but I don't know what was inside since I never opened it. Qin Mu nodded and continued, Celestial Venerable Yun was an intelligent person with great foresight that I cannot match. What he left behind must have an in-depth meaning. It's unfortunate that when I returned to the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens, I was too busy to talk to him in detail. Who would have thought that would be the last time we met? Mistress Yun Xiao changed the topic and said, just now, Jinli said that he plans to head down, which I don't agree with. The lower bounds are too dangerous. It was hard for him to rid himself of the bloodline curse, and now, he wants to seek death in the lower bounds. He'll basically be cutting the bloodline of the Yun family. Celestial Venerable Mu, you are close to him, please help me talk him out of it. Qin Mu smiled. Madam, which do you feel is safer, the celestial heavens or the lower bounds? Of course, it's the celestial. Mistress Yun Xiao was stunned as she realized Qin Mu's point. Still, she pointed out, accompanying kings is akin to accompanying tigers. There are 10 celestial venerables in the celestial heavens, which increases the danger by tenfold. Even then, the lower bounds are filled with danger. There's no future there. If the celestial heavens decided to activate disasters there again, his presence there would put him in danger. Qin Mu glanced at her as he suggested, wouldn't it be safe if we overthrew the celestial heavens? Nestlings eventually have to fly out of their nests. In my opinion, he isn't one, as he has a lot of ambition and baggage. Not to mention, he showed proper restraint and expediency when being with Celestial Empress. I have to say, Madam, you don't need to restrain him anymore. You know that Yun Chuxiu is Celestial Empress. Mistress Yun Xiao became nervous as she kneeled down, sighing. I really don't want Yun Jinli to walk down the path of his ancestor. Finally, the Yun family has a child that can live long enough. Nevertheless, Celestial Venerable is the beneficiary of the Yun family, and thus I shall entrust Jinli's life to you. Qin Mu returned the favor hastily. Please don't do this, madam, I don't deserve this. Both of them rose as Qin Mu smiled. Yun Jianli's a genius of this world. After heading down, he will definitely grow beyond your imagination. There's no need to worry, madam. Mistress Yun Xiao continued. I wish for him to revive the Yun family and restore his ancestors' achievements, but I don't want him to die. Celestial Venerable Mu, you boys always have all sorts of ambitions and ideals. I don't understand all of this. All I can do is silently support you boys. Farewell. Qin Mu sent her off. The ladies of the Yun family left as well, while Yun Jinli and Yun Chuxiu stayed at the Jade Pool. Qin Mu fell into deep thought. Celestial Venerable Yun left behind a case for me at Dao Ancestor's place. Is Dao Ancestor still the sloppy Daoist from the previous Jade Pool meeting? Is he still a Dao friend of Celestial Venerable Yun? Was he lost in the power and luxury that the celestial heavens provides? After much thinking, he finally made up his mind. He was going to see this old sloppy Daoist no matter what. To see Dao Ancestor directly via the celestial heavens Dao sect would be too obvious and traceable, which would likely give Dao Ancestor trouble. Qin Mu groaned before setting up a plan. After the Jade Pool incident, you still dare to go outside? Are you not afraid of being beaten to death? Qi Jui wasn't comfortable with this idea and scolded Qin Mu. You want to go out by yourself, leaving me, second brother, and sister Yanga to watch you die by yourself. The Dragon Chiline walked behind Qin Mu, while Yanga morphed herself into a fat bird that stood on the Dragon Chiline's head, then looked back at Qi Jui. Qi Jui was furious as he rushed forward angrily, refusing to speak as a solemn expression adorned his face. Curiously, Yun Jinli looked at him and said, are you not a follower of the celestial venerable? How can you talk to him like this? He didn't know that Qi and Qin Mu had never had an amicable relationship. The fact that they didn't fight was already giving a lot of face to second brother. Yun Chuxiu gently suggested, "Brother Ju, it's a good thing to be out sometimes. Although the scenery of the Jade Pool is beautiful, after some time, it gets boring. You should accompany him to walk around." After being called Brother Ju, Qi Jui's bones became weak, his soul flew, and his heart was filled with sweetness. This demoness is indeed powerful, my Dao heart. Screw the Dao heart. Yun gently followed them, asking, "Where do you intend to go, Celestial Venerable?" Qin Mu's eyes flashed as he laughed and said, "So many strong practitioners visited me during the Jade Pool incident. If I don't return the visits, I will be criticized as being ill-mannered." Yun Jinli was shocked, and Qi Jui and Yang couldn't help but feel chills down their spines. Qin Mu was planning to visit the beings who aimed to assassinate him. How daring! Only Yun Chuxiu wasn't afraid. Instead, she was extremely cheerful. Out of the strong practitioners who attacked the Jade Pool, who is the closest? Qin Mu inquired. Yun Jianli and Qi Jui looked at each other, keeping silent. Yun Chuxiu quickly replied, I know. The closest one to the Jade Pool is Celestial Venerable Lang, God Emperor Lang Xian, in the Lang Xian Divine Palace. God Emperor Lang Xian has students from around the world. His palace is also an important ground of the celestial heavens and is extremely magnificent. Qi Jui's expression changed rapidly before he repeatedly said, "No, we can't go to Lang Xian Divine Palace." Brother Ju, Yun Chuxiu blinked her beautiful sparkling eyes at him, intoxicating him with her beauty. Qi Jui was confused and, without realizing it, said, "All right, let's go to Lang Xian Divine Palace." After they left the Jade Pool, they soon arrived at Celestial Street. The Celestial Heavens Market was extremely lively and was a part of the Heavenly Market. Although the Celestial Heavens was pretty high up, the gods weren't entirely self-sufficient since they still had to feed their large families. Hence, the market was important. There were a lot of half-gods within Celestial Street, on top of people from many races, including humans. It was just that the half-gods outnumbered everyone else. It was spacious, and there was an endless stream of cars and horses. Business was clearly good. However, just as Qin Mu and his gang approached, the people there suddenly stopped to look at him. It was as if time has stopped. In the next moment, all sorts of alarms went off. Carts rolled and horses ran away, as one divine beam after another flew in all directions. Celestial Street immediately became empty, with not a single soul present. Shocked, Qin Mu looked at both sides of the street. The shops of the celestial realms had also closed shut. A person who was 5 feet tall acted somewhat slowly and was thus locked out. He hammered a door loudly in desperation, crying miserably. Qin Mu walked forward, concerned. "Brother, save me." The dwarf cried uncontrollably when he saw Qin Mu approaching him. He leaned against the shop door, desiring shelter in the shop, then started begging, "I don't want to die here." Qin Mu became even more shocked as the door suddenly opened. The dwarf fell into the shop before it was shut immediately. The door and windows were locked tight. "Thanks for the rescue." Inside the shop, the dwarf said, "You are akin to my second parent for rescuing me. I will never forget it." Within the shop, someone chided him, saying, "You certainly are daring, not running after seeing the plague god, and instead choosing to cry and almost implicating us." The dwarf explained, "I was so scared that my legs became jelly, and I couldn't run." Silence. If someone assassinates this pestilence, everyone on this street will be silenced. Part 377 end here. Thank you for watching.